Hello everybody, welcome. As many of you know, given the high amount of press we've had lately, we are here to personally bring to you what my colleagues and my collaborators found in our expedition. My name is Victor Rangel, and I'll be accompanied by my colleague, Lino Martinez. We'll both be giving you some information as to what we found, where we found it, etc. I will give my remarks first, and then I will leave the podium to my colleague. We'll give you some information also about what our findings suggest about the life that these creatures had. First, I'll talk about the environment and context in which we found the fossil. So, we found this fossil 25 miles northwest of the city of Johannesburg. That's the capital of the country of South Africa. In a series of caves, which we like to call the Rising Star Cave location. We had prior experience with this location. We had, in fact, a few years ago, we found a new species of Australopithecine called Australopithecus sediba in this precise location, and we had found other evidence that there might be other fossils yet undiscovered in the area. So we thought it was a good idea to research it again. Now, as far as our specimens are concerned, we don't have any conclusive dating. These are some pictures. This is a picture of the location of the cave we were in. In regards to dating, we don't have definitive conclusive results for our dating yet. The location in which the remains were found were in sedimentary rock, so that doesn't give us much material to figure out through radioactive dating what the age of the fossils are. We can make some inferences based on the anatomy of the actual fossils and the location in which we found them, but those can be very inaccurate and they might have large margins of error. So for now, we remain agnostic as to how old these creatures actually were. We'll be talking about the morphology, the brain, hands and feet, the locomotion these creatures had, the body size, and the jaws. And of course, when we speak of jaws, we also speak of diet. Here's a picture of some of the specimens we found. We found an almost complete skeleton, and we actually found over 2,000 fragments of bones in the cave. I'll speak about brain size. The brain size of these specimens were quite small for a Homo genus species, but quite large for an Australopithecine. It's about 460 to 560 cubic centimeters. Here we have a graph that shows the brain cases of several different extinct species of apes. Ours would fall in between the second and the third one. So slightly larger than the Australopithecine and slightly smaller than the Homo habilis species that we've already found. Now, in regards to its feet, the feet of the specimens we found are actually very indistinguishable from our own. You can see in this graphic, digit for digit, bone for bone, they are homologous to ours, and actually their size is about the same as ours. The opposable big toe that we usually find in tree climbing apes, like the orangutan and the chimpanzee, is not found. So this suggests, of course, that this creature walked at least mostly upright. In the femur, this is some femurs we found in the cave. There's evidence of large muscle attachments to the femur, and of course, with large muscle attachments, there must be large muscles that were attached to this bone. And of course, that would indicate that these apes were in fact upright. It's further evidence to support that idea. The size of the limbs relative to body size is also an important thing to notice. Here we have, for example, a modern human on the further side, an Australopithecine in the middle, and a modern chimp on this side. And you can see very clearly that as apes become more upright, the arms become shorter and the legs become longer relative to body size. In our findings, in our fossil, it resembles very much like the middle specimen here, very much like Australopithecus afarensis. And of course, this would suggest that it was also, again, mostly upright. Now, one last thing for me, the shoulder structure we found in this specimen supports the idea that while it was almost entirely upright, it did retain some tree climbing abilities. And we know this because of the shoulder. The shoulder, for example, we found was very similar to the middle section, which suggests that it had the ability to, for example, escape into the trees from predators. It would have been a very beneficial trait to retain that feature in the environment in which it lived. Again, this does not mean that it was a completely tree-dwelling ape, but that it was mostly bipedal with some tree-dwelling characteristics. So we can say for sure that its locomotion was mostly bipedal, but it had some climbing abilities, and it has a larger than expected brain for an Australopithecine. And with that, I conclude my remarks, and I will now leave the stage for my colleague, and he'll continue his remarks. Thank you very much.
Well, hello everybody, my name is Lino Martinez, and I'm here with my colleague, Victor Rangel. As he was explaining, first of all, good afternoon everybody. Thanks for having us here. I will continue our discussion on our findings. I will speak briefly on Homo naledi's hand, teeth, and body size. The hand of Homo naledi, which should be this, this is part of the introduction of the picture. It says that dexterous, but not as much as humans. Opposable thumb. These are the characteristics: phalanges, curvature, and I'm gonna be reading more briefly about this this fossil, specifically the hand. The hand of Homo naledi were very dexterous, but probably not as much as the human hand. This species also had a similar thumb like that of modern human and other upright apes in the genus Homo. The thumb was opposable, which means that it would have enabled these apes to do a whole host of different things using their hands. This would indicate that these creatures probably use some tools in their everyday life, and that tool use was probably important to their survival. We were not able to find evidence of tool use, but that may be because the tool that they use may have been made of softer material, and evidence of them has been simply being destroyed. This creature also had a slight curvature to the phalanges. This consistent with the idea that they descended from apes that move about on all fours, much like the modern gorillas do, and that they still retain the feature to a small degree. Okay. This is the part of the hand, and as you can see, it says that you can see the difference between the modern human and the Homo naledi fossil. Now I'm going to be moving and talking about the teeth. The teeth are consistent with most other Homo species. They had large back molars and relatively smaller front teeth. This would suggest a diet of high quality foods. They probably ate meat much like we do today, as well as nuts and various other rich soft fruits available to them. They were very likely omnivorous animals. Next thing I'm going to be talking about is the body size. Now with regard to size, they were a bit smaller than the average human. The adult male Homo naledi was about 5 feet tall. The female was slightly shorter than that. This dimorphism is consistent with other extant and extinct apes. Their relate limbs size also support the idea of bipedalism. Here's a picture that it clearly shows that they were bipedals. They were 2 feet. Their smaller body size may also tell us something about the climate in which it lives, because larger, more robust animals typically live in colder climates. We can deduce then the climate in which it lived was probably warm temperature. And of course, this corroborates other findings that geologists and paleontologists have found in regards to the climate in the area in the past 3 million years. So now, to conclude our fossil findings, I'm going to be talking about the conclusion. So now, to conclude, our fossil indicates that it had some Australopithecine features such as the shoulder structure, the phalange curvature, and the relatively small brain compared to the other Homo species. However, this creature has features that would put it within the genus Homo. Its upright posture, dexterous hands with opposable thumb and likely to use certainly supported this idea. Taxonomic problems notwithstanding, we have classified this creature as a Homo species. We will have to wait for more accurate dating results to place it properly on the Homo family tree. We named this particular species Homo neladi, and I